Hi, I'm Glenn Rogers, and this is American Perspectives. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about a very serious subject and one that's a little bit sad that we have to talk about it. But we're going to be talking about abortion and asking whether it's right or wrong. This is an issue that the country is pretty well divided over. There are millions and millions of people who believe that abortion is wrong. And there is as many, or maybe even a few more on the other side, who believe that abortion is just fine. Well, which is it? You know, is it right or is it wrong? And so we're going to talk about that today and see if we can't figure it out. But before we do that, I want to take just a moment and ask you to help me out here. It would be very helpful to our channel if you would subscribe. Down below, a little off to the right, there's a button down there. And if you would click that and subscribe, it would help us. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't obligate you to do anything. Nobody bothers you. Basically, you're just telling YouTube that you like the content of these videos, and that helps our video rise up through the ranks in their algorithm so that more people have an opportunity to see the video. You could also hit the thumbs up button. That would be very helpful. And maybe share this. If you hit the share button, you can send this video to another media where other people can see it. You can leave some comments down below as well. I'd love to hear some of your comments. So, abortion. What's the deal with abortion? It's legal, but is it moral? Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's moral. Just because something is moral doesn't mean it's legal. Those are two separate issues, and we have to be able to look at them separately. So abortion was made legal a long time ago, but is it moral? In deciding to have an abortion, is a woman doing something that's perfectly legitimate, or is she doing something that's wrong and that she shouldn't be doing? Let's begin with a definition. What is abortion? It is the deliberate termination of a pregnancy, and that usually happens within the first 28 weeks of the pregnancy. Okay, so it's the deliberate termination of a pregnancy. Now, some people assume that deciding to have an abortion is a woman's right, and that she can do that because it's her right to do it. It's legal, therefore she has a right to do it, and that's all it is for them. They don't see anything else to be considered. But for other people, abortion is killing a yet-to-be-born baby, and therefore it is immoral. And so if we're going to say, okay, well, who's right? The people who say it's a woman's right, or the people who say it's immoral to kill an unborn baby? To really understand that, we need to look at a little bit of the history of abortion in America. And so I'm going to give you just a very brief overview of what has happened and how it happened to bring us to where we are today in the abortion issue. Okay? Now, the Supreme Court legalized abortion back in 1973 with a very famous court case that most people have heard of, Roe v. Wade. Okay, it was a case that went through the lower courts, got up to the Supreme Court, and they decided that a woman did have a right to make that choice, and abortion became legal. Many people do not realize, though, that before that decision, abortion was illegal in most states. It was just in 30 states, it was just flat out illegal. You could not have an abortion for any reason. In some states, you could have an abortion depending upon what the reason was. And in one state, only one, could you get an abortion for whatever reason, and that was in New York. Well, feminists didn't like that situation. 30 states where it was not legal at all, ever, to have an abortion was just unacceptable to them, and so they wanted to legalize abortion. Now, let me pause here and just say this right up front. I am not anti-feminist, not at all, okay? I have been married for many, many years, and I want my wife to have the same opportunities as anybody else in society. I have granddaughters. I want them to have opportunities in society. I believe that women are equal to men, and that women can do just about any job that a man can do, that she should get equal work for equal pay, and all of that sort of stuff. I don't believe you should discriminate against somebody because of their sex. All right, so in those kinds of questions, I would say, yeah, I'm a feminist. That's me. I believe those things. But there are some branches of feminine, the more radical feminists have embraced some ideas that I find problematic and things that I think are challenging. And in one of those things was making abortion legal on demand anywhere. When feminists were trying to get abortion legalized, and this goes all the way back to the 1950s and up through the 60s, and certainly in the early 1970s when it was in its real intense period, most Americans still thought of abortion, the whole issue of abortion, as being about killing an unborn baby. And they weren't going to agree to that. They were, if somebody said, we need to have, make abortion legal. Wait a minute, we need to make it legal to kill unborn babies? I don't think that's a good idea. And that's the way the discussion was going. And most pro-abortionists realized that as long as it's put in those terms, they weren't going to win. They weren't going to get the law changed. And so somewhere along the way, some pretty smart people, and the feminists were pretty smart people, they got together and realized that what they needed to do was change the focus away from killing an unborn baby to an issue of a woman's right to choose. And since we were in the middle of the feminist movement where the women have this right and this right and that right and this right over there and that one over here, if women are raising the issue, that basically says, hey, look, this is my body. I have the right to do with it as I please. I have the right to make my own decisions. Okay, who was going to say no to that? Women have too much power, and there were too many people who were involved in the feminist movement, and when the idea came along that a woman has a right to choose, it's her body, she can do what she wants, who was going to say no to that? And what happened is that they shifted the focus of the discussion, just exactly what they wanted to do. And many people got so caught up in this idea that a woman has a right to choose to do what she wants to do with her body that they lost focus on the real issue, which is still, but it's killing an unborn baby. Okay? And when some people began to raise that issue and say, okay, well, but wait a minute. She has a right to choose to do what she wants with her own body. Okay? I mean, who would deny that? I have a right to choose what I do with mine. You have a right to choose what you do with yours. So who's going to argue with that? Nobody. Okay? Except when a woman gets pregnant, it's not just her body any longer, is it? Now, there's a second body. There's a baby. Here's what I want you to do, because many people say, yeah, but there is no baby. There's no baby. It's just a clump of cells. It's basically just a gob of uterine goo. And, you scrape that out of there and throw it away, and it's not a lot different than blowing your nose into a Kleenex and then throwing the Kleenex in the trash. That's all it is. There's no baby. It's just a gob of uterine glue. And because, see, that's uterine goo, excuse me. That's where people went with this when they said, well, wait a minute. Even if it's her body and her right to choose, that's true until she becomes pregnant. But as soon as she's pregnant, it's not just her body anymore. There's the body of a baby, see? And they said, well, there is no baby. There's no baby there. All right, so here's what I want you to do. When this video is over, don't stop and do it right now. I want you to listen to the rest of what I have to say. But when I'm done here, okay, then go to Google and do a search for images of 8-week-old fetus, okay? 8-week-old fetus. Most 66%, that's not quite most, it's not enough to be most, but 66% of abortions are done around 8 weeks into the pregnancy. Okay, so look for images of an 8-week-old fetus, and you'll get a whole bunch of them, and look at them. And then do a search for images of a 13-week-old fetus. Over 90% of abortions are done in the first 13 weeks. So look at these two periods of fetal development, a fetus at 8 weeks and a fetus at 13 weeks. Look at those pictures and then tell me that there's not a baby there. Okay, there's a baby there. There's a baby there. But I think even more convincing, depending on how your mind works, how you think, is an argument that you can make. It's a logical argument about what a fetus is. Okay? And the whole thing begins with this question. When two humans reproduce, what is it that they reproduce? What is the result of the reproduction process between two humans? Some people say, well, there's no baby there. Well, what is it? There's something there, and it's growing and it's developing. See, and that's the problem, because it's going to continue to grow and to develop, and it's going to be born, and then somebody's going to have a baby to take care of, aren't they? See, and they don't want that baby to take care of. And so abortion becomes an alternate choice so that they don't end up with a baby to take care of. But let me ask you, when two people reproduce, what is it that they reproduce? Could it be categorized as swine instead of a human? Could it be swine? Could it be feline? Could it be canine? Could it be equine? Could it be bovine? Okay, now, if you're not familiar with what all those words mean, is if it's not a human baby, is it a pig? Is it a cat? Is it a dog? Is it a horse? Is it a cow? No, it's not any of those things. When two human beings reproduce, what they reproduce is a human. It's not something that is non-human that at some point will become a human. That's nonsense. Okay, that may be something you see in some kind of a weird science fiction movie, okay, but that doesn't happen in real life, okay? Two humans do not reproduce and then reproduce something that is not human. Of course it's human. Okay, it's a human being, and it's alive. It's not dead, it's alive. It's growing, and it's developing. And that's the problem, isn't it? That's why people want to have an abortion, because there's a baby in there, and the baby is going to develop, and it's going to be born, and we don't want that. When two humans reproduce, what they reproduce is a human being. Now, it's very tiny. But again, look at those pictures. Look at those images of an 8-week-old fetus. That's a baby. Look at the images of a 13-week-old fetus. That's a baby. Okay? There's a baby in there. And so when humans reproduce, they reproduce a living, growing, developing human being. That's what they reproduce. And because they reproduce a human, it has human rights. And the most fundamental human right is the right to life. If you kill a human fetus, you have killed a human being, a very young human being, early in its developmental stage, but it's still a human being, and it has the right to life. From the moment of conception, you have a living, developing human beings, because a human being is what other human beings reproduce. Okay, there's no way around that. Now, somebody can say, well, I don't agree. Okay, no, excuse me, but if you take some classes in critical thinking, when you have a logical argument that results in this conclusion, that's a true conclusion. Now, you can choose to reject it, but you can't say the argument is wrong, because it's not wrong. It's a logically sound argument, and that's what I just presented. Now, if you'd like to hear more about this or read more about it, you can do it in this book that I wrote back when I was teaching ethics. This is called 21st Century Ethics: An Introduction to Moral Philosophy. I have a chapter in here about abortion. It is one of the moral dilemmas that faces modern society. And so I have a chapter on this here. This is one of the books that you can buy to read about that. But the thing is, there's a human being that its life is being terminated. That's, I defined abortion early on as the deliberate termination of a pregnancy. Okay, that's just a fancy way of saying a decision to kill the baby. Okay, and that's what abortion is. And is having a baby a challenge? Yes. Can it generate some hardships? Anybody who's raised children says, yeah, you better believe it. Having kids is a big deal. But you can't kill a baby just because you think at the time you're not ready to be a mom, or you're not ready to raise a child, or you just say, I don't want a baby. Well, that's what happens when you have sex. It's at least a possibility, isn't it, when you have sex, that you're going to get pregnant, and the result is you're going to have a baby. The answer to all of those challenges is not to say, well, we'll just kill the baby. If we get pregnant, we'll just kill the baby. That's okay. We'll just kill the baby. Not really a baby there anyway. Yeah, there is. There's a baby, and you can't just kill it. That's wrong. Okay, that's our video today. I hope you learned something. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. I would like to ask you again to hit the subscribe button. That's very helpful to us, and it allows more people to see our videos. You can share this by hitting the share button and sending it to some other media platform, and that would be good too. So thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate it. Hope you'll watch more of our videos. Thank you.